All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is 41st Acre Podcast. We are doing our Texas versus Michigan recap. Texas coming off a 31-12 win in the Big House, the second all-time meeting. Texas is officially 2-0 against Michigan. Initial thoughts, guys, after watching this game.
You go first, Justin.
I man, I mean, I don't think Michigan is all they're cracked up to be. Hard place to play, don't get me wrong, but clearly they've lost a lot over the past year. But Texas looked good, looked solid, went in, handled their business, did more or less what we thought they could do and were capable of doing. So honestly, at the end of the day, felt like things are moving still in the right direction, trying to just position themselves well for a playoff run.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, hats off to Sark and the coaching staff for having that team ready. Were staring down the barrel the entire time walking into that stadium. It was loud on that first possession, and they sat there and drove the entire distance. If it wasn't for a questionable holding call, we would have
Yeah.
scored. We would have scored a touchdown. My boy DeAndre too.
Still doesn't have a catch this year.
Still does not have a catch this year.
Yeah, I thought, looking back to kind of our preview show last week, we were talking about some things we were looking for. And one thing that I noticed was Quinn poised under pressure this week. He would step up and find the guy, and then a couple times, he step up and run and get that short, 5 or 6 yards. A couple might have been a first down a time or two. Been watching a lot of football last couple days, but I was real impressed after criticizing his improv ability against Colorado State with when we had the turnover. I think he proved me wrong this week with his ability to move around the pocket, step up, run a couple times and find the right guy, find the open guy or get rid of it. So I was real impressed with that. We were all pretty close on the score. I think Brett, you and I both had 31-16. Justin had 31-10. But we were pretty close with our bold takes as well. Brett, you had Michigan scoring 13 points or less. And then Justin, he said we were going to hold Edwards to under 40 yards rushing. He got 41. So,
So
we're calling that a win. But
even stat
man, what
corrections.
what about our linebacker play, stopping those holes? And I think there was one run, I think his longest rush was 12 yards. And I think again we had the safety play prevent a big play on that one. But what do you guys see from, the defense and anything linebacker play, anything you guys that stood out with us stopping the run?
Well, let's. I want to take each one of these points kind of one by one. Your first point about Quinn. I mean,
Yeah.
I think Quinn has grown so much just in the past year. I
Mhm.
always thought like when Quinn struggles, it's because he gets off to a slow start, and he's kind of notorious for that in these big games. Like OU last year, I think he immediately threw a pick, and then came down the next possession, threw a pick. Just didn't look very poised in a very hostile environment. And we are saying that, that's the kind of Quinn we can't have because these are the types of games you expect to be one possession games. Come down to the wire, you can't give up those possessions. And just from the get-go, I mean, the guy just had swagger. He looked comfortable in the pocket. He moved around so well. That third down conversion to Isaiah Bond, I think it was in the first. I think it was in the first. I think
First
it was
drive.
the first third down, right? I know it
Third.
was the first drive, but it was like first and second down. We didn't do anything. I think we had a false start, and then we had third and a mile, and he steps up in the pocket and throws an absolute perfect ball to Isaiah Bond, and then later throws an awesome throw to DeAndre Moore. Should have been a touchdown, like I said earlier. But the way he's just grown so much, and he's so comfortable in the pocket, and when he starts when that internal timer goes off and time to get rid of the ball, boom, Gunner Helm, boom, Jaden Blue. One of those guys is getting a quick pass, and we're going to get 3 yards out of it. We're going to get 10 yards out of it,
Yep.
but he's not forcing anything. I mean, he looked really, really good to me.
Yep. No, 100% agree with that. The growth he's made in the past year has been, I think, pretty substantial. And you can see it in the way he talks, the way he acts, the way he moves around in the pocket, like we've been saying. Sounds like the team is really following him, which is awesome. Decision making is still there. I mean, he only had a handful of turnovers last year, and you can see that he still clearly is trying to make the hey, we can reserve the right to punt, or let's see what we can do in the next play. Because I don't think there's a throw he can't make. So if it is a 3rd and 13, he's yeah, no biggie. We've got the athletes, and I've got the arm, we've got the play caller. We can find a way to make it happen. Um, I've really enjoyed watching him and being wrong. I think this was one of the first times that he kind of put the cape on, like I talked about in our season
Yeah.
preview. When is Quinn gonna be that guy? When can he be, the Superman, right?
He was him. He was him.
He's got to put that if that could be his best ability, his cape ability, that would be pretty awesome to see. Would love to see. I mean, he moved actually. I think I saw he moved from he was like plus 1,000 for Heisman before the season started. I think he's up in some places at like plus 500, plus
I think
550.
he's the front runner now.
Yeah, which is just, I mean, it's only 2 games, right? So we got to keep that in perspective. But it is pretty amazing to see. Man, he's really just come a long ways. I think starting to show a lot of people wrong and like becoming a better NFL prospect, but within that, he's just becoming just a fantastic college quarterback and fun to watch all around.
Yeah. Yeah, that opening drive I thought was really good, outside of that holding call, which yeah, I think we all don't really agree that was holding, but what about coming back? The way they responded to that, we get the okay, actually we missed the field goal, but then we respond with touchdowns on the next 3 out of 4 drives, scoring on all 4 of the next 4 drives. I felt the game was over at halftime, and the
Yeah.
announcers definitely said that. Um, we talked about it on the pregame. Michigan, they want to run the ball, they want to control the clock. To have their top running back only had 8 carries in the game.
Yeah.
Like if this was a Michigan, win, he's got 20 plus carries, I think.
Yeah.
And we're talking about him, maybe being back in the Heisman race because I think he was a preseason front runner. So yeah, who impressed you guys the most? We'll start with offense, then we'll go on defense. Was it Quinn? We going unanimous there.
I'm gonna get off his nuts in a second, but
Yeah.
I will tell you this. If we didn't have Quinn in that game in the first half, what did we go into halftime?
24-3? No, yeah, 24-3.
Correct.
Is Brett frozen?
Yeah,
Ah.
24-3.
Did I lose you? Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
there you are. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Damn
My internet,
Starling.
my internet connection is unstable. Terrible. Um, yeah, so I mean, what do you think? 4-3 was the halftime score. Is that right?
Yep.
What do you think the halftime score is if Quinn's not balling? If Quinn's last year's Quinn?
Well, so that's a weird thing. If he's Quinn last year who played against Alabama and Oklahoma State, same thing, right? He played really damn well, had control of the offense. If he's the guy who we saw against OU or who was it, BYU, Kansas State, oh, he didn't play against Kansas State, right? That was Malik. But if
Yeah.
he's playing against some of these other teams or Rice, right? Yeah, not the same, right? Much better defense he's got there to play against. So if he's
But even like okay, so even like out of the Alabama game, like Quinn made plays, but he didn't make like a lot of the plays were made by his wide receivers, right? Like think about the touchdown by X, think about the touchdown by Adonai. Like those were outstanding catches.
Mhm.
Like those and they were open though. Like those receivers, made the play. This is the first time I've really seen Quinn, like you were saying earlier, Justin, like he was the one that made the offense work. Like he
Right.
stepped up in the pocket, worked his way, and then just with the flick of his wrist finds Gunnar Helm in the back corner of the end zone.
Yep.
Or makes that beautiful throw to Matthew Golden. Was that it? Was
On
that
the
at
corner.
halftime? But
Yeah,
on that back
that was
route, running opposite direct, running across his body or throwing across his body. I
yeah.
mean, yeah, he really showed out.
Yeah. Yeah, the the nonchalantness that he can take and throw a ball and whip it exactly where he needs to be is pretty.
Woo!
Yeah, he's got. fantastic arm talent. He's got the arm talent that we all thought he had when he was going into college, and it's definitely showing.
Haven't seen an arm like that since Joe Montana.
Since Joe Montana?
Oh,
Um, Man, defensively, I mean, I think offensively is Quinn for sure. Defensively, I mean, I'm pretty sure Benda led the team in tackles. I think he had 7. How about we give it up to Colin Simmons for getting the first sack of the year? Okay, come
First and only.
on. Still the only one we have, and it's by our
First and
discretion.
only.
Yeah, there you go. No, but I mean, if you look, Benda and Anthill, they had 13 tackles between the two of them. I think that's what we talked about. Like, man, if the defensive linemen can do their job and then just leave the linebackers open to just take down those running backs, I mean, that's it right there. They absolutely shut them down. Secondary played fantastic. Lots of tip balls, interceptions, PBUs, good tackles. There was maybe a handful of missed tackles I could think of, but when it happened, we had guys right on top of it. Everybody was rallying to the ball. So I would say if, sometimes you talk about the front 4, the back 7, or the front 7, the back 4, however you want to talk about it. I'd call it the back 7 played just lights out all around for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the look of our D line. I mean, I feel like they controlled the line of scrimmage.
Mhm.
Like you said, open up those lanes, or let those linebackers make tackles in the holes and stuff, and just keep from getting pushed around. One thing I noticed, I think Michigan actually, did a decent job avoiding the big play. I mean, our biggest play was to Wingo on that 55-yard run. Um, I thought again, Quinn was patient. Like, we would take the open throw and we just move the chains down the field. We had a couple 20-yard throws, maybe one over 30 yet. But I thought we were patient, and I didn't think we rushed anything at all. There were like maybe there was one bubble screen that I thought we missed the block, and it was and then
Yeah.
that double fake screen pass that we ran a bunch last year, that and Quinn didn't even look when he threw it. That could have been bad, but that was more the play call itself, not Quinn making a mistake. So I'm not necessarily a fan of that play. I know it worked a lot last year, but
We
I
didn't
think
Oh,
run it against
no.
Colorado
yeah.
State. So they knew, they saw the look and they're
Well,
like,
we didn't run it last week, yeah, but we ran it. We ran it a bunch last season, and so I think we need to take that one out of the playbook moving forward, or we need to do something off of that play, and throw it down the field instead of the fake reverse whatever screen dump off. We're gonna now throw it over the guy that's trying to come pick it, and we're to the house. So maybe we save that for Georgia. We fake it and then throw it over. Um, so I think that one's pretty well on film now. So, but yeah, I'm excited 2-0. I don't think we could have envisioned a better start to the season. Um, one of the things I was looking at as well is, the running back room. I feel that, Gibson to me looks like our best downhill runner and sort of the closer. The other guys are great out of the backfield. They both had I think, what did we say? Blue had 6 catches, Wisner had 2. But Gibson ended up leading the team in total carries at 10. But I think to me he looks like the best. I mean, so we'll go to receiver next, but I still kind of feel like we're looking for who's gonna make the next step and be the guy. So what do you guys think at running back? And then we'll go to receiver.
Well, I'll tell you, my heart stopped when Jaden Blue came up again. I think that was the first quarter. It was like second drive, maybe.
I think that's right.
He went out and he was hobbling off, and he was trying there. And then they took him back to the locker room. I was like, "There
Yeah.
goes the season, boys."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Jaden Blue's special. You get that guy in space. I mean, even with a bum ankle, I guess it was an ankle injury, right? So
It ended up being equal, yeah.
even with that bum ankle, the way he shook that guy out in the flats, on that little, what do they call that? A dead leg juke or something like that. The old Bijan Robinson move. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it just that the guy didn't even touch him. They literally did not touch him. He
And
shook it
Sark,
so good.
Sark made the right play call because Blue, if I'm not mistaken, hurt his right ankle. So he swept him out to the left, and he was able to cut on that left ankle, that left
Yeah.
leg. Was a great play call. Like, hey, see what he can do in space, and he just left that dude in his jockstrap. So that was good.
Yeah. No, I still think it's Jaden Blue. I mean, we'll see if the carries balance out. I don't want to see him get a lot of carries, quite frankly, for the next two, three weeks, 3 games. I mean, we're not playing anybody. Mississippi State looked terrible this weekend. UTSA lost to like, you
Texas
know,
State.
Texas got killed by Texas State actually.
Yeah. I think it's the first time UTSA's ever lost them, but I could be.
And then ULM's one of the worst teams in the country. So we might not see a front
Arch
runner emerge
Manning,
at running
you
back.
know,
Huh?
maybe we'll see a lot of Arch Manning.
We might see a lot of Arch Manning, but I hope we don't see a lot of Jaden Blue, and I hope we see a lot of backups. We'll let him emerge as the guy if he is the guy versus OU and then Georgia and maybe Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's starting to look pretty good.
Yeah, no, I love how hard Gibson runs. I mean
Yeah.
he runs a little lower than Wisner for sure, and he just like especially when he knows he's close to a first down or somebody's a DB or whatever's coming up to tackle him. I mean he uses his shoulder pads and his helmet as a weapon to like go right at their thighs. And I mean when he scored that touchdown, same thing. I mean he just knows he's got a nose of this is how far I need to go. I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make it happen. So I like watching him run.
So on offense, I mean, is Gunner the guy? He's the breakout offensive weapon that we nobody expected. He's he's doing a good job at tight end catching the ball.
It
Yeah.
looks fast.
Yeah, he's big and strong. I mean, he's a hell of a blocker for the most part. I don't recall him really missing anything. Um, I think that they opened up that package at just the right time to, you know, maybe the defense wasn't looking out for it because of the amount of skillful receivers we have. That Gunner is just that mismatch. Like you put him on there, all right, cool, we're running 11 personnel or whatever, and he's going to get matched up on some slow linebacker or some small safety or DB, and he's too big and he's too fast to be able to handle him like that. So it's kind of honestly what was really cool was we said, all right, cool, Michigan, like you've got the best tight end in the country. We're going to shut him down. Not that we shut him down, but we held him to what, 70 yards. And we're going to show you what tight end we got, who maybe you've never heard of, but he's pretty damn good. So I like the reversal roles there.
Yep. I thought Loveland played pretty good. The fumble he had, I thought was a little questionable. I think could have been called a no catch, or if they could have called it on the field, but I think they kind of went with the call on the field. It was so close.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I, I like having a good tight end on the team. Um,
Don't
back
you do?
when, yeah, yeah. Um, I know. All right, Brett, you got some notes on Cameron Williams. What do you think's going on there? We need to anything else we need to clean up before we get into some of these bigger
Well,
games on the schedule.
yeah. I mean, on the offensive lineman side in general, Hayden Connor heard our criticisms from last week because he showed out. I mean, him and Jake Majors um, on any kind of rollout run where they're the pulling guard and center. Oh, they just mauled guys. And Hayden Connor probably had his best game as a Longhorn. Yeah, I mean Cameron Williams played really well. It's just like the nerves were there, and we're going to have these big games again. I can tell you, we're going to have at least 3 of these, and if we make the college football playoff, which we definitely should, we're going to have a bunch of them. So, you can't have 3 false starts in a game. One is maybe okay. You don't want to have 3 on your offensive line in total. Like he had 3 by himself, I think all in the first half. And then he had the questionable holding call that pulled back DeAndre Moore's uh, touchdown that would have capped off that really nice first possession that we ended up getting 0 points off of. So, yeah, I mean, there's things to clean up. He's the only non-returning starter from the year. He's has got as much talent as anybody on that offensive line, though. Um, he's got 3 games that he should be able to really focus, but you can't have those types of penalties against teams like OU. You can't do it against Georgia. You certainly don't want to do it at Arkansas or at A&M. They'll just eat you alive.
Yep, I'm with you. He's a hell of a road grader, run blocker. You got to have him in there. But that, I mean, just take your time, listen to your guys next to you. Like you'll be fine. You're bigger and better than pretty much anybody you're going to face. Just rely on that. If you're half beat late, feel like he's good enough to be able to make up for it until he can get his timing down. Like just keep the nerves calm.
Yeah. You guys see Sark's message to the team after the game? You know, is essentially, hey, we're not done yet. This is just part of the journey. You know, enjoy it tonight, but the journey's not over. Um, so that's the message to the team. Obviously, they know that, and um, so I think the messaging is good. I don't think we're gonna pull a Notre Dame. Um,
Ooh.
so, but
Bad
yeah,
loss,
anything,
Aggies.
yeah. Anything else from this Michigan game you guys want to touch on? Any other takeaways, things we need to keep
Final
in
thoughts
mind?
from me. I've
Yeah.
got 2 final thoughts. Receivers, 2 catches amongst our entire receiving core. We claim to have 7 deep. So it seems like we're starting to see an emergence of the go-to guys, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden. That's going to be something to watch for, along with, Gunnar Helm's development. But no catches from Ryan Wingo, Jonte Cook, DeAndre Moore, and all the other talent that we have at wide receiver. So I'm not concerned about that, but I just kind of found it a little bit interesting that we didn't have more targets and more catches from those guys. And then the other thought I had was, the defense was outstanding, but I'm hoping that we're not going to become a complacent defense, thinking that we've solved all the world's problems because we shut down an inept Michigan offense.
Mhm.
Their quarterback was bad. He wasn't good. He wasn't average. He was bad. He missed some wide open throws, and that might have been because we were getting pressure on him. But that's not a top 25 offense in the country. When you play Georgia, they will be a top 5 offense. And you've got to be able to still have that tenacity to get better throughout the rest of the year and be that defense. I love seeing our defensive backs fly to the ball. That was so refreshing watching Manny Muhammad make a play on the ball, tip it up, and McCullough getting his first interception of the year. Derek Williams had a nice one where he was just looking for the ball later in the game, and we just made plays on balls. that was so refreshing instead of just sitting there chasing receivers. So, my hope for the defense is this is a step in the right direction, and they want to continue to get better because there are better offenses on this schedule that we will play. Probably a few.
Yeah. No, for sure. Definitely agree there. I didn't even think about, you're right. I mean, Golden and Bond were the only 2 receivers with catches. There were a couple other targets for sure, but most of them were, except for the DeAndre Moore one, which got called back from penalty. I mean, Jonte had one that he caught, but that got called back for penalty too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I think Silas Bolden had a target or two, but you're right. It was very much funneled to those 2 guys. And it could have just been a scheme thing or a time of the game type thing.
Well, it's a
Just
lot of matchups. I did hear this. Will Johnson was only thrown at one time in the
Yep.
entire.
And that made sense if you don't have to. I mean, it's the same thing with their 2 big defensive linemen. When those guys were in, they ran to the outside. When those guys got tired and went off, ran up the middle. I mean, Stark is starting to finally play chess, and he's got enough people, enough analysts working with him and whoever it is to say, look, these are the ways that you need to take advantage of the teams that we're playing. You got these matchups, you got these players to avoid, these ones to take advantage of. So we will tell you when the right personnel is in there, and then you make the play call based on that. There has to be some high level of conversation happening like that, and I think it is happening and it's showing. I mean, it's pretty impressive what they were able to do to honestly a very good defense. I know they lost a lot, don't get me wrong, but I mean, to do what they did like that was pretty damn impressive all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, the formula's working. So we got UTSA coming up next,
Hey, the
and we
41st Acre will be there in its
41st Acre
entirety.
we
Hey,
will
we
be
will.
there,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll do our preview show and post game show of that game.
Maybe a
Um,
guest, maybe a guest
yeah,
and
I think we're gonna start bringing in some guests from the opposition and get their take on what their side of the team's gonna look like. And anyway, it should be fun. But appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to next week's game with UTSA, and we'll talk later.